I've made a series on my channel explaining the manipulation types that people use. Today's video is going to be putting these together in a way where you can transform the manipulation. So at the end of every single manipulation type, I always spoke on how you can transform manipulation into something good, into something productive. This is because having the qualities of a manipulator doesn't make you a bad person by itself. It's how you use what you have, those qualities. Are you going to manipulate with what you have, or are you not? If you are physically strong, for example, you can use it to protect others, or you can use it to oppress people. Also, if you have $1 million, you can just buy loads of drugs, or you can help those in need. It's how you use what you have, not the thing itself. The truth about manipulation is that it robs people of their peace of mind. Manipulators are too busy focusing on controlling the world around them that they don't see all the things about themselves. Manipulators are too occupied to fully enjoy life. It's not like they can't enjoy things, but rather they just have a harder time enjoying the moment to moment. If you have been manipulated, you know that it makes you uncomfortable and it makes you want to not be around the person who is controlling you. Manipulators know this and also adds to their stress. They can become afraid of you leaving, so much so that it drives you away even quicker than if they wouldn't have done anything. Here's an interesting thought. There is a difference between knowing something and realizing something. You can know that you shouldn't lie, but you don't really feel it. When you finally realize you shouldn't lie, it feels different inside of you. Realizing something means that it has become real to you. It's no longer a theory or just an idea. It's an experience. So when you try to tell someone their faults, like "you're hurting me," when you do this and the person doesn't realize what they're doing, that's part of the problem. And this is what manipulators do. Maybe they hear you saying that, but they don't actually know it because they only know it in theory. They don't actually realize it. It's not real within them. Now I'm going to go over Maslow's hierarchy of psychological needs. Now in this pyramid, self-actualization is at the top. It's the highest place you can reach. Self-actualization means to fully realize your highest potential that you can achieve at any given moment. This is the opposite of being manipulative. In the pyramid of psychological needs, a manipulator is somewhere near the bottom, and this is because they operate more on a fear-based level. They do not feel secure or safe as much as one might think. When one is operating from a place of insecurity and instability, it's hard for them to put others first. All that matters is survival. In other words, all that matters is me, and me first. There's no incentive for someone to consider your feelings over theirs. Someone who is actualized appreciates him or herself for their own uniqueness and also appreciates others for who they are. They live without the added pressure of having to control their environment, so they're not worried about who's doing what. They are free. They free themselves from the burden of trying to control the uncontrollable, and there is a sense of freedom that allows the actualizer to freely express himself without fear of vulnerability as well. Manipulators work primarily on deception and lies, while an actualizer works on honesty and authenticity. Manipulators are one of the most stressed out people you can ever meet. Their mind is filled with doubts and fears, and it's because of this fear that they need to control. For example, narcissists are known to create personas in which they create an image of who they're supposed to be, or an image the world is supposed to see them as. So they may feel very insecure, but the image they must project is one of confidence because this is something they lack. They're actually full of fear. The confidence is simply artificial. If a manipulator does not appreciate themselves for who they are, they will not appreciate anyone else either for who they are. They have an image for themselves that they must uphold, and they also have an image for those around them that they must fall into. And that's when they use tricks and tactics to mold their victims into who they want them to be, because they do that similarly within themselves. Life is seen as an opposition to a manipulator. There are winners and losers. They have the idea that to overcome life, they must fight. They must fight themselves and fight those around them. Life becomes something you win, and you cannot lose. You must conquer no matter what. And they do this by coming up with strategies and tricks. The manipulator feels unappreciated. The more they devalue themselves, the more they project their own internal struggles onto everything outside of themselves. And this causes them to see people as objects. And now the opposite side of the spectrum, when you are self-actualized, then you have no need to manipulate. You appreciate yourself and you appreciate others for who they are. You have a good sense of self and work from a good sense of self-worth, actually, rather than a position of lack or deficiency. You see yourself and others as one coherent team. The actualizer can actually manipulate, but the desire to do so isn't there anymore. So they have the same exact capacity to manipulate. They may have the same exact qualities, but they don't do it anymore. Oftentimes when we think of manipulators, we think of someone who's incredibly smart or conniving. Their scheming and their mind games can seem like too much for someone to handle. They can seem multifaceted and even a great force for evil. The actualizer is actually the same way. They're multifaceted, intelligent as well, but they're the complete opposite of the manipulator. They can share many of the same intrinsic qualities, but they just use it in different contexts. The actualizer is not some Superman either. They are human, but they're very prone to mistakes as well, just like anyone else. We never really stop learning on how to make ourselves better because it's an ongoing experience. It's an ever-growing process. But the actualizer is willing to change and learn and grow. Instead of just receiving information in and just knowing things, they are actually implementing change for themselves. So as I mentioned earlier with the manipulator, they may know that they're hurting you, but they actually may not even realize it, or maybe they don't care. An actualizer will care, one, and two, realize what they're doing and then make steps to actively change it. We all have the capacity for manipulation. Many times when we are young and go through life being manipulated, we ourselves learn how to manipulate. We see it as an effective means to get what we want. Many people are unaware of what they're doing, while some do this on purpose. A good way to catch yourself trying to control others is noticing how you feel when you act the way you do. Ask yourself, does it bother you when people don't do exactly what you would like them to do or act in a way you don't want them to be? Or do you always want to be the leader? Are you a controlling type person? You will also notice that if you are controlling, you may have high levels of stress or anxiety. It's like I mentioned before, manipulators rob themselves of peace because their mind is way too active trying to control everything around them. And there are way too many variables to take into consideration, and this is why the future sort of makes them anxious. To become a self-actualized person, you must let go of the expectations you have on others. Let them be themselves, and as long as no one is directly hurting you, then let them be. Self-actualization is based on freedom to be yourself, and when you appreciate yourself honestly, you appreciate others for who they are as well. Manipulation just disappears. You can see the potential in everyone, and rather than manipulate, you are guiding people to help them become the best version of themselves they can be. Just like a manipulator, an actualizer can see past people, and they are often 2 and 3 steps ahead of everyone else, but there is no harm to be done here. Free yourself from the shackles of control. It is often said that you must be careful being overly materialistic because your possessions will eventually own you. And the same goes for manipulation. The amount of control manipulators exercise over others, eventually what happens is this control comes back to them. They're ultimately puppets to the control themselves. They may be unaware of this, but it's there. And the stress and the anxiety and the worry are all signs. To let go of control means to free yourself and become self-actualized.